It is 8:41. Good morning to you. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Ellie.
Yes, good morning to you. And joining us now to go through the day's headlines is GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson and Claire Pearsall, former Conservative advisor. Very good morning to both of you. And Claire, this one's caught my eye. Let's talk about Shropshire, shall we? It's tipped for a tourist boom.
It is. I think this is quite interesting. It's the headline "Move over Maldives." Shropshire is right up there at the top, and this is now down to people exploring the country that they live in a little bit more, but also what is on offer in the beautiful county. Now, I have been there, and there is a fascinating picture of Ironbridge, which is in the Times today, which just looks absolutely stunning. And I've been and seen it, and the heart of the Industrial Revolution, that's where it all began. The Severn Valley Railway runs through there, and I think that people often miss out the beauty that is in our own country. Lockdown...
But it's not quite like a wooden hut on stilts in the sea in the Maldives, is it?
It's not. And,
no, it's not like on the beach as well, which I seem to remember you rather like doing on holiday.
I have been to both of these locations. I'm very lucky. I've been to the Maldives twice, and it's
very nice.
A long time ago when it was a lot cheaper than it currently is. And I've also been to Shropshire, and yeah, I really would take the beach holiday over everything else. But however, at least I'm honest about it. However, there are some absolutely beautiful places, and Shropshire, I think, is always one of those counties that gets missed out if you're going to sort of head down towards the southwest, or if you're going across into Wales, you tend to go through Shropshire and not actually stay put in it. And there are some absolutely stunning places. The Severn Valley Railway is really beautiful. You've got the Ironbridge Gorge, you've got the RAF Museum at Cosford as well to go and have a look at. And I think it's quite interesting that people are rediscovering the history of the country.
Do you think it's a lot in part down to COVID lockdowns and when we were having to have our staycations in this country?
People really stuff though.
Yeah.
Isn't it cheaper as well?
Well, you say that. Well, we're going to the Cotswolds at the end of the month. It's extortionate for 2 nights in this country. You go away for cheaper.
And that's the thing. You can actually just get a flight over to a Spanish island somewhere and it'd be an awful lot cheaper.
It is less of a hassle, isn't it? If you go to the Cotswolds...
Jump in the car.
You jump in the car, go and get there, rather than have to...
Pack what you like.
Queue up at the airport, get a plane. I mean, getting anywhere on holiday abroad is a day's travel before you actually get to sit on the beach.
Well, having said that, we also, during lockdown, we went to Devon. Beautiful holiday, absolutely great fun, but it took 6-7 hours travelling to get there just because the roads were so full. We didn't really know where we were going. It was complicated and we had to stop a load of times and all the rest of it. So I'm not sure that going within this country is a lot less travel, because that one, I drove the entire thing, I seem to recall.
She said bitterly.
Yeah.
It's all coming out now,
with the car piled up with absolutely everything you can think of. So, I mean, I think, yes, we are looking at our own country and looking at the beauty and looking at the history, but I don't think it's going to completely remove us from the foreign market either.
You can't get away with the thing, Nigel, can you?
Exactly.
Mind you, talking of driving all that way, don't take us for fuels, says the Mirror.
Yes, and this is the fuel prices going up. Well, in fact, what's been happening is they have been coming down, but the problem is that the margins are still twice as much as they were back in 2021. So supermarkets are making 13% on a gallon of fuel, and what the RAC is arguing, hang on a sec, we could actually cut this by about 6p, and fuel could be even cheaper. I mean, at the moment it is cheaper than it was, but it's still not enough that. And profits are being made by the companies that sell it.
I just wish there was a bit more clarity to it, because there's such variation. It drives me mad. Yeah,
well, I mean, Northern Ireland, for instance, I mean, they've got fuel now at 133p a litre, which is you couldn't get anywhere on the mainland, and that's because they're in competition with the Republic. But it shows that competition would work, and so you do wonder a bit how much of the sort of the fuel prices are down to price fixing between the various companies.
Someone told me the other day that if you... I haven't got an electric car, which I quite fancy an electric car, but apparently if you charge it at one of these places on the street, if you haven't got a charging port at home, it can be up to 20 times more expensive than doing it at home.
Wow.
It's not surprising, is it? I think everybody's going to cash in. That's the laws of supply and demand. And it's the same way that the thing that irritates me more than anything else are petrol stations on the motorway being about 10 pence more expensive than somewhere just off the motorway. But that's supply and demand for you. With the electric vehicles, there aren't that many charging points.
But I mean, if we're going to end up just all driving electric cars, which we are from sort of 2035 onwards, they're going to have to get that infrastructure right and also get the pricing right. I mean,
it's a long way to go.
This whole idea about getting to net zero, part of it's got to be that we can actually make use of the technology available, like the electric car.
Yeah, I mean, because you don't want people fighting for a particular space on the street just because that particular charger is cheaper than the one next door. Or...
I was talking to a lady a few days ago now who went down to Cornwall for the weekend in an electric car and was driving around in a blind panic because she didn't have enough charge and there weren't any charging points nearby.
That's the problem.
There was no way she could make her way back to London, So she was stuck down there. Not good.
At all.
Claire, we may not be getting bunches of flowers. It could be quite difficult, especially if they're coming from the EU.
This is it. This is a story about border regulations and flowers. And given that we're coming up to the time of year where flowers are tradition in February, there's a certain date.
Don't forget that, Nigel. I think that's a hint.
I remember that. I'm very bad at buying flowers, so I must remember
Pop that in the calendar.
Write that down.
Yeah.
But from the end of this month, Britain is to introduce paperwork requirements for EU businesses if you're sending animal or plant products, with inspections going to start in April. So they're worried about things like your tulips coming over from Amsterdam, the traditional flowers that we all like to see. So the Netherlands are going to be hit quite hard with these difficulties with the regulations coming through. The Department for Environment said the technology would reduce the costs for everybody, but I think that there will always be a little bit of getting used to a new system. So I don't think it's perhaps as bad as some people would like to
stuff
admit.
here. I mean, the kind of things you're going to need to get a flower into the country. You need a health certificate. They'll need a physical inspection. It needs, for some reason, a safety and security declaration.
You don't want any triffids getting over.
Well, yeah, but I mean, do you think that a tulip really needs a health and safety declaration to actually come into the country?
But I think all of these things will get worked out. When a system comes in, everybody looks at all of the problems until everyone sort of says, "Oh, OK, let's jiggle this around a bit and make it a little bit simpler." But there were always going to be issues with passing across borders after Brexit, but I think it just requires a little bit of sensible...
worked out by now, though?
Well, it should.
I mean, there's sensible thinking, but it's been a while now, has it not?
It should, but things like this, because they're not coming in until this year...
It was postponed. I mean, in fairness,
this has been postponed.
They postponed it because... and what the Dutch are saying is, could you postpone it for another year? Well, certainly beyond Valentine's Day, anyway, so I can actually buy some flowers.
Wow.
Oh, you see, now you've heard it. He's promised now there will be flowers.
We'll remember that, Nigel.
Yeah.
Nigel, the Telegraph says we're decommissioning 2 warships.
We are indeed, yeah.
Which doesn't sound like a very sensible idea, I have to say.
The reason is we haven't got enough sailors to actually sail them. That's the problem.
Well, why decommission them? Why not just...
Mothball them.
Mothball them for now, yeah, and then...
Because we've got some more arriving around the corner, so...
Who's going to... Oh.
So what the issue is, it's 2 frigates, HMS Argyle and HMS Westminster.
Well, I'd decommission Westminster. And the ship.
So would we. They've just had refit, so they cost about 100 million quid to actually refit these ships. But we've got some Type 26 frigates coming along, and just not enough sailors to go around. Recruitment this year is down 22% on last year. People just don't want to join the Navy, it seems.
I mean, the thing with this is, where you read it and you think, and there's a £100 million refit on Westminster and all the rest of it, and you sort of think, in effect, they're going to scuttle them. But presumably, if you decommission it, you can sell it to
You'll flog it off, yeah, you can flog it off to somebody else.
So we're not sort of throwing money away that way.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're obviously not to get your original investment back, but you can sell it to another country.
But I think we have got more ships in the pipeline, but as Nigel said, if you don't have people to man or woman the ships, then you're in real trouble. So you need to look at what the armed forces are doing with recruitment, what is the MOD doing to make it a more attractive career to go into. And I think a lot of people don't look at what the forces can offer. And I always think it's really important that you do consider it as a career option. For some people, I think it's going to be the making of them.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. But I wouldn't have thought it was making it a more exciting career. I think it's the fact that they've just whittled the numbers right down. They need to get they need to be recruiting more.
But that's my point. Why not make it more attractive? Because I've not seen any campaigns recently, certainly in the last 6 to 8 months.
Not for the Royal Navy.
Not for the Royal Navy. There have been some for armed forces, but not many. So I think there needs to be a much bigger recruitment drive. I think people need to understand when they go into further education that there are careers available to them. It's not all standing around being a soldier. There are so many careers within the armed forces, and I think that is
nothing wrong with standing around being a soldier.
No, there isn't. But I think that you need to look at what else it can offer you.
How we go from that to the Spice Girls, I don't know.
But we're going to do it anyway.
But let's go. Yes, let's do it.
Yes.
Oh, nice. You look at me. That's really good.
It's got your name next to it.
It does. 30 years of the Spice Girls. Now, I was having a conversation outside by saying I'm sure it's not 30 years. It only feels like 10.
You were but a slip of a girl, Claire.
I wish I was. I sort of remember it all happening. It sort of passed me by a little bit. I wasn't young enough to get into the whole Spice Girls phase, but I think that they have a really big part in this country's memory of pop, of girl power, and it is something to be celebrated. They were hugely, hugely successful, and they've all gone on to forge out very different careers. Victoria Beckham's fashion line, which is now apparently making a profit after losing millions. Emma Bunton, Baby Spice, who went off and is a radio presenter. You've got Jerry Horner, formerly Jerry Halliwell, who is one of the UN ambassadors, doing a lot of good work and seemingly enjoying life. And I think Scary Spice will sketch over that.
As we're just about down to our last couple of seconds, Nigel, which was your favourite?
Oh, Emma Bunton.
Oh.
Yeah, I like Baby Spice.
Oh,
do you want to think about that, Nigel?
Okay. Absolutely no pause for thought there.
That was a little bit too rapid there. Have words with him on the way out. It's been a joy to see you both. Thank you very much indeed.
He's got a type.
He's got a type.
Yeah.
Let's go check on the weather with Alex.